Alcohol is pretty good. Alcohol really is a good drug. It makes you more enthusiastic and more full of positive emotion.
술은 약일까요? 독약일까요? 조던 피터슨 교수도 술을 마셨고 술의 장점에 대해서 이야기한 적이 있습니다.
I started drinking when I was 13, probably.
Yeah, and that's late in Canada.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was way behind my neighbors. When I used to go back to the little town I was from when I was an adult, even if I hadn't really had anything to drink for years, it was like, well, what are we going to do? Well, let's go to the bar. Why? Well, because there actually isn't anything else to do. It makes you more enthusiastic and more full of positive emotion. And the second thing it does is reduce anxiety.
Yeah.
And so if you are a bit more socially anxious and you also have that positive response to alcohol, then it's a great drug. If we had to make a bad drug legal, the worst choice was alcohol. You know, and I'm saying that as somewhat of a fan of alcohol.
술을 왜 마시냐는 질문을 술을 좋아하는 사람에게 하면 뭐라고 대답할까요? 조던 피터슨 교수의 대답을 들어보겠습니다.
Why do people drink too much? It's like, if you like alcohol, that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like, why do people drink too much? Well, because it's great.
술의 좋은 점을 나열하면 계속 나올 겁니다. 심지어 성서에도 와인을 권하는 부분이 있죠. 때로는 우리를 더 대담하게 만들기도 합니다.
It actually doesn't make people stupid. This has been tested. Like, people who are drunk will take far more risk. And you might say, well, that's because they're too stupid to understand the risk. It's like, no, they're not. If you ask them about the risk when they're drunk, they can outline it perfectly. What it stops them from doing is caring about the risk. And that's part of the anti-anxiety component. That's why you can drive around drunk at high speed in a car, which is a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
We used to do that in the back roads in northern Alberta. It's fun, but people died all the time doing it, especially in the winter. It's like, wow, this is great. It's great until your head's gone through the windshield. It's like jumping off a cliff. I'm flying, which is true until the last 1/10 of a second. It's like, then you're not flying, man.
하지만 술에 지나치게 의존할 경우 술을 마셔서 가능했던 것들이 맨정신에 잘 안 되는 것은 문제입니다.
It is a great anti-anxiety drug, but it stopped you from learning the skills that you need in a social circumstance to be able to cope with that. So then it actually stops you from dealing with the anxiety. You don't have to learn how to overcome it. That's not good.
술은 단칼에 쉽게 끊어지지 않습니다. 왜 끊어야 하는지에 대한 생각과 말이 정리되고 명료해야 하는데요. 피터슨 교수는 알코올 중독에서 벗어나는 방법을 조금 다르게 설명합니다.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you're trying to stop drinking, you need something better than alcohol. And alcohol is pretty good.
Yeah.
So you better find something a lot better, man.
누군가 단번에 그 자리에서 술을 끊었다면 술보다 더 건설적이고 강력한 것을 찾았기 때문일 겁니다.
You want to figure out something that you're doing with your life that's worth not getting drunk and screwing up. You do stupid things when you're drunk. You hurt yourself. You compromise your health. It's really hard on the people around you. You tend to turn into a liar and it screws up your life. It's like, yeah, but it's pretty fun. Well, it is, but you need something better than that.
여기서 더 나은 것이란 한마디로 자신의 가치와 관련이 깊습니다.
What's better isn't being straight and not making mistakes. It's like that's all prohibition in some sense. What's better is, no, you need an adventure, man. You need to get out there and have something to do and something worth waking up for. That's the substitute for the addiction.
피터슨 교수와 대화를 하고 있는 인물은 Theo라는 미국의 코미디언입니다. 이 사람이 어떻게 술을 의지하게 됐는지, 이 문제를 어떻게 극복할 것인지에 대해 피터슨 교수의 설명을 들어보겠습니다.
I'm sure this must have happened when you decided to stop drinking. You must have thought, this isn't good.
I'm not going to be funny anymore. I thought that. I thought there was going to be ramifications, yeah.
Okay, and so what were they? What did you foresee happening?
I thought I wouldn't be funny. I thought that people wouldn't like me. I thought that I wouldn't be able to meet girls if I wasn't drinking or...
Right, so that
those
was
things.
what you were afraid of giving up if you stopped drinking.
Right.
What were you afraid of happening if you kept drinking?
I was afraid of not achieving my dreams. I was afraid of ending up a drug addict.
Yeah,
I was afraid
so,
of dying in my sleep. Something, or dying under the influence.
Oh, not like that doesn't happen to comedians.
Right,
It
all the
happens a
time.
lot. Well, it's not an occupational hazard because,
Yeah.
well, and it happened to all sorts of comedians and rock musicians. It usually happens at about 27. So, okay, so you were afraid you're going to die or you're afraid you're going to become addicted. So let's say, what would have life been like for you if you were addicted? So you don't have a career anymore.
No.
Right, so you've given all that up and failed. So that's fun. So that's going to drive you even more towards drugs.
It would have been miserable. It would have been hell.
Exactly. Why quit drinking? So I don't end up in hell. There's a reason to stop. And then if you make that hell real, here's all the details of my personal hell. Yes, let's avoid that.
Right.
So then you have something to run the hell away from.
술에 취했을 때 변하는 모습을 보고 사람의 됨됨이를 보려 하는 경우도 더러 있습니다. 하지만 술은 약물 중 유일하게 사람을 과격하게 만드는 것이죠.
And alcohol also makes people aggressive. It's the only drug we know that actually makes people aggressive. Half the people who murder someone are drunk, and half the people who are murdered are drunk. You know, and you're most likely to be murdered by a family member.
Yeah.
So I've been joking with my audiences, is like, well, if you really want to get killed, the best thing to do is go drink with a family member.
Yeah.
So which is actually statistically true. Yeah, go get drunk with your family if you want to die.
인생 발전의 측면에서 술을 끊는 것은 두 가지를 의미합니다. 첫 번째, 인생을 제대로 사는데 심취하는 것. 술에 의존하지 않고 제대로 인생을 사는 데만 집중해도 내 주변의 사람들이 정리됩니다.
You're also going to find out who your friends are.
Yeah.
Because if you're starting to put your life together and you have friends that object, those are not friends. Those are just people you know. This is one of the hallmarks of a friend. Here's two hallmarks. A friend is someone you can tell bad news to. And they won't tell you why you're an idiot, and they won't interfere with your suffering. They'll just listen, and maybe they'll suffer along with you. Okay, so you can tell bad news to them, and they won't tell you some worse thing that happened to them. But a friend is also someone you can tell good news to. And the friend will say, wow, in this veil of tears, something good happened to you. Great, man.
Congrats.
I'm wonderful. It's rare. It's unlikely. Good for you. I hope 10 more things like that happen. And they're not envious, and they're not jealous, and they're not one-upping you. If you're trying to get your life together and your friends get in the way, that's actually real useful for you because you've now identified who your friends aren't. And you might think, well, I can't give them up. It's like, oh, yes, you can. And not only can you should, and it would be better for them.
And then they're going to learn, wow, I'm going to lose friends if I continue in these directions.
두 번째, 도전을 하고 리스크를 지지 않는 것도 리스크임을 이해한다.
Why is it hard for people to let go of what's so familiar with to them, even if it's bad?
That's a really good question. You say, I have a job I hate. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm not dying from it. It's like not as bad as it can be. So you factored in the risks already. They get invisible. You think, well, I can't jump out of this job because what about all the risk? You got to get your resume in order. You got to send it out. You got to send 50 of the damn things out before anybody will call you back. Then you have to go get interviewed. You have to come up with a story while you're a good employee and maybe you're not yet. So you have to figure out how to do that. It's like, what about all these risks if I go look for a new job? Those are risks and they're harsh and no wonder you're avoiding them. What about the risks for you to stay with this job you absolutely hate? Well, let's think that through. Okay, so I have this dead-end job. I hate it. I'm getting bitter. Where am I going to be in 5 years? I know where, because I've watched this with people. You're going to be just like you are now, except a lot more of what's good about you is going to be gone and a lot more of what's terrible is going to be amplified.
술에 의존한다는 것은 어떤 면에서는 나를 가둬놓고 내 삶에 예측 가능한 일들만 있게 만들겠다는 이야기처럼 들리네요. 피터슨 교수는 말합니다. 뭘 하든 실패할 수밖에 없고 어떤 길을 택하든 리스크가 있다는 사실을 인정하라고 말이죠.
You think, oh my God, there's a terrible risk in pursuing this new job. One of the things that's really freeing to understand is that you're screwed no matter what you do. There's no secure path forward. Give it up. It's risk everywhere.
어차피 리스크가 있으니 그냥 선택하고 해버리고 잊어버리라는 무책임한 말이 아닙니다.
Oh my God, that's terrible. It's like, yes, except for two things. You can pick your risk. That's the first thing. So you get to pick your poison. That's something. And second, you're a lot tougher than you think. So even though there's risk everywhere, if you confront it forthrightly, what you'll find is that you can actually handle the risk. And that's the security.
술의 의존도가 높았던 티오가 스스로에게 말했던 한마디가 있습니다. 이 말 때문에 본인이 술 마신 행동을 돌아볼 수 있었는데요.
Esteemable people do esteemable things.